All right. We are joined here today, as you see in the title, and you probably heard in the intro as well. We're joined by House of College Hoops. I'll just kind of start with that and just kind of leave it at that. He can introduce the rest of himself. But House of College Hoops' own Michael DeRosa. I have him over on ECB as well. Great dude. One of the best people in the college basketball space. He's been on the show a couple times. I think a Trivia Showdown champ.
Yeah, I beat Chris.
Yeah. So has a Trivia Showdown crown. Only a handful of folks can say that. Crazy to think that those shows are only a couple months away. Since the last time I recorded a pod, 10,000 downloads. First of all, I want to just address that really quick. Big thank you to everybody for the support. I did a small little, actually, I think I may have included it in the last pod. I apologize. So without further ado, this is Michael DeRosa, at MD The Dream, one of the best Twitter names in college basketball. Introduce yourself. And then as the title shows, we'll get into what history tells us is one of these 12 teams will win the national championship, the AP Week 6 bowl, even though the AP doesn't mean anything.
Actually, you said one of the best Twitter names. You know how I came up with that? I
may have brought this up. You may have told this story on the pod, but for the new people, definitely tell us.
I don't know if I've ever told it. One day, if you ever played 2K, they just made you create a social media handle just so you could whatever. And then they every once in a while you get a tweet from Jimmy Butler that'd be at whoever is a bum. He won't score 30 points. And then your game challenge is to score 30. And the day before I was watching some YouTuber and he called him Kareem the Dream instead of Hakeem the Dream. So I sat there, I'm MD the Dream. And I put it in there on my 2K thing. Then I used it the next year and then the next year. And then I created a Twitter and it was MD the Dream. It was solely because of just a random bit that 2K had. And I was watching a YouTuber who didn't know it was Hakeem the Dream, not Kareem the Dream. Other way around.
First of all, that's incredible. I don't think you have not shared that around here, but I say it every time because I think it's dope. There's two Twitter. I promise we'll get to the AP in a little bit.
Yeah.
There's two lanes for the Twitter sphere where it's as you make it big in college basketball or any Twitter space for that matter. And you either have a really cool nickname like yours, or you make it to a point where you're that where you're Dickie V, and your at's just Dickie V. You just make it to a point where you're just Billis. People these guys don't exactly have at Billis is not my point, but there are folks that do that just have the names that mine is just my name, and I think it's awesome. I don't know how well it. Again, it's not MD the Dream, but it'll do. It's if you're looking for me and my content, you have no excuses.
Yeah.
It's there that's the name. It's so hard. And every other platform, I can't get the exact name. Twitter's always been the one I have. Actually, my 12-year anniversary says, I literally think it's today as we're recording this. I got the little notification this morning. So anyway, Twitter's fun. We know that we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the stuff we do without it, which is kind of a crazy thought. Also, we're recording this in the middle of Iowa State, Iowa. This will age obviously incredibly poorly by the time this pod goes out. It's 24 hours plus old, but it's 74-74 at the under 4 timeout. So roughly. And so we're having a great time watching this. So if you see us both at some point during each other's long-winded examples of something, look away for 15 seconds at a time. That's why. So that is a great segue because one of the teams in this game, Iowa State, who just took the lead, is in the AP top 12.
Good backdoor cut.
Why? See, Michael's already this is great. So why am I bringing this up? First of all, I want to give a shout out to Ryan Hammer. He's the one that if there's other people credit it, sue me. But Ryan was the first person I really saw. I've known him for a long time, and just he made this video.
I'm going to interrupt quickly. Ryan Hammer, great name. Another great name. We're talking about great name. Yeah.
Not a nickname either, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. Real last name. Played college soccer, real. And he posted a video of a goal a long time ago at Arcadia. He's great. He's an incredible guy. And so he does the trapezoid of excellence. He does all this stuff with Jay Billis. He is doing what we all want to eventually do, and he just started making TikTok. Shout out to Ryan Hammer. But the AP top 12, history tells us, and I don't have the exact stat in front of me, and he's gonna laugh when he hears this. But basically, every team since 2004 has, except for 1 year, I believe, has won the national championship. Who was ranked in the top 12 of the Week 6 AP poll? history tells us that one of these 12 teams I'm about to read you are our national champion. And I know that sounds insane to maybe somebody who's going to get into college basketball any week now because of football. Maybe maybe they're even later this year because of the football playoffs. But Tennessee, number 1 right now. Auburn, Iowa State, who we just mentioned. Duke is number 4. I do think that's a little high in the AP. I thought that was interesting. Kentucky, Marquette, Alabama, Gonzaga, Florida, Kansas at number 10, which is kind of crazy to think this late in the season. Purdue, and then Oregon, which I'm sure we'll get to, and I'm sure you will have a great time telling me all about them. So let's start with this. I will tell you why I want to really talk about this. Obviously, to give Ryan Hammer some credit for the idea and just how important this is to how we view when we see tournaments or when we see this the tournament later. I don't have supreme confidence in any of these teams, and I know that this early in the season, people are going to say, "Well, that's a lazy take," whatever. My point is I have serious doubts if any of these teams made the Final Four. I would be able to point to something. Of course, these things could change and they'll grow on them and they'll get better on them later in the year, understandably. But right now, if the Final Four started and one of these 4 teams or any of these 12 teams made the Final Four, I would point to each team having something where they would lose that game very easily because of this. And so we haven't had that in a while, right? Obviously, UConn, even the first year they won the national championship 2 years ago, they had, they were coming up as they went into conference play, and obviously we know what happened after that. But even then, we could still point to they were actually outside of the top. I think they had just gotten into the top 12. I think was kind of the idea. And so my point is I don't love any of these teams in any way, like confidently. So my question for you is, who are you most confident in cutting down the nets? Let's start.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my top 12 that I submitted in all the other top 25s we do and stuff. The only team I don't have in the top 12 is Kansas, so I would put them as the team I'm least confident in if that was the question. Of course, it wasn't. The real question is which team am I most confident in? For me, it's Auburn. Jani Broome, I think, is the best player in the country, so I'm just going to start there. They have the best player. It would feel, I don't know if this is like the right take, but just kind of would feel weird seeing Bruce Pearl cut down the nets for me, though, like as the national champion. Like he's been a great coach for all this time, but like I don't know, it would feel weird. And some of their guards, just the way they play, they're kind of like they have very aggressive guards. They're shot chucking guards, and like we've kind of like settled into the spot where like college, like the great college teams don't have really solid guards. Their guards are gunslingers, and it works for them. Like it really works, but. They've been the best team in my eyes this season, and their only loss is like at Duke. I don't know. I'll give you
loss at Duke. Mind that. I mean, the fans showed up. I heard, but close loss at that. It wasn't like it was some like, okay, they went to Duke. Like people say this all the time. You have to eventually discredit a team for losing at Duke, but this is not one of those cases.
Yeah,
like people all the time. Like it's such a tired argument. It's like, okay, well they lost at Duke, so let's just not give them like problem for it. Like I heard that with
If
Auburn.
you lose by 20 plus, we're talking. They lost by like 4.
Any team will lose at Duke, and people just like are like, it's cool. It's basically like a win, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like let's just back up for a second, right? But no, you didn't say that. It's just one of those things that just bothers me. So, look, I love the Bruce Pearl. That was a great way to lead because I do this thing with the NBA every year. Whenever we get closer and kind of things, we start to see things shake out. Of course, 82 games, a lot different. But I do this exercise with whoever I have on the pod. Normally, it's a guy named Grayson that is incredible. I do NBA pods with. And I ask him, I go down, there's only 30 choices, but I go down the list and I go roughly all-star time. And I go, I'm just going to read you a team. No context. You've watched 60 games. And I'm going to say, you stop me when I get to a team that you would have like a vehement reaction to them winning an NBA championship. Like you'd be like, oh my God, the Pistons wanted, like it would be absolutely.
If I had to guess, I don't think you ever get to my Wizards. I don't think you've ever gotten there.
No, we don't, which sucks. But look, on the way, hey, I watched the Wizards game the other night. I think it was against Boston. I can't remember now, but they were really good. They looked really good. Up and up, young team.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to do that same example with 364 teams. I don't. But like if every one of these top, let's start with this. If every one of these top 12 teams, if any of them won a national championship, you wouldn't like you would not be completely surprised. 100% stop and be like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I feel like I don't know. We haven't seen it with Florida yet. That like at this point, it would surprise me if they ended up cutting down the nets. Like that would get me like, you sure, Florida? Purdue without Zach Edey, it'd be like, really?
Really? Yeah. It would be, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like, whoa, okay. I love Oregon. I don't know if they're winning a national title, so like, I guess, and I don't. I guess I could see it with this Kansas team that they just like kind of hit another level. Like I still see them. Like they haven't been great this year, but like I see the vision of how they reach that next level. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That's
So
good.
yeah, I think it'd be at 8. But even with Marquette, it's like, are they really going to win a title after Kolick and Oso leave? Like, is that really going to happen? I don't know. I don't think so. So I don't know. I don't know.
This is that. Look, again, I know that this is all like hypothetical that'll look insane in like mid-February, but I only do this because even though I think kind of the point I made earlier, even though there's 360 some odd teams, there really, you just kind of made your point. Like there really is only still a few. This is no different from any other league where we can go, okay, if Tennessee, like we can do it. I mean, if Tennessee wins the national championship, you're not surprised. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Auburn, we already established that. Iowa State, especially the way they're playing now, they're about
Yeah.
to win 83-76 at Iowa. I mean,
I love what Josh Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson bring to this team. So no, they wouldn't surprise me at all.
and Jefferson, who just made the clutch free throws, who's shooting 94% from the line. I just saw, crazy for the year, by the way.
Yeah.
Duke, like no one, even with the freshmen, the whole point. I think I laid it out. I don't remember if you were on a pod with this, but you did the magazine editing a lot of. My whole point with Duke was the last team to win with this many high talented freshmen was Duke, win a national championship. So yeah, let's just go with history here and say that that's probably a good bet.
And like their way they like have the guards with like a Proctor, Foster, Sion James, those guys are so long. Like if you have 2 days to prepare for that length, I think that can cause you problems. Like I think they have a style that can work in a tournament setting.
I think that's honestly why some of those like the Kansas game, I think that was really difficult.
Yeah.
Like because that I'm not sure Kansas. I love Bill Self, but they had to prepare for Duke in a pretty decent turnaround. Duke was already coming off the Arizona game pretty quickly. I think that helped them. The other thing with Duke too, can you imagine Jerry Roach is just still on this team and he was the point guard? Like it just would be like I don't think we'd be having Auburn conversations. I don't think we would. Like I think if Duke had Jeremy Roach, that's how important I think he is. You know, well, we probably won't get to Baylor today, unfortunately, but that's just obviously a situation that changed. Kentucky, the record speaks for itself, at least to this point. But like, let's be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we won the national championship. I wouldn't.
I'd be a little surprised because they just don't have that one guy that like I can say game breaks down. It's Cooper. Like if game breaks down, you have 2 possessions. You're counting on a guy for 2 possessions. Like you need to get 2 buckets. Cooper Flag on Duke versus
Andrew Carr.
Is it Andrew Carr? Yeah, it was.
I
Andrew
just said
Carr.
the first guy that has made a big play that we could remember.
So it's from that perspective, I wouldn't. But I'm a sucker for Mark Pope. You know, I loved the Mormons last year. I love the offense he runs.
So much fun.
Yeah, and I think this team is really smart. So like, it wouldn't stun me, but like, I would be pretty surprised. I can't lie. That would surprise me.
We're already enough into this exercise. We're just going to finish it. Marquette, you already kind of laid like you kind of went into it a little bit earlier, like with the losses, but like Cam Jones might just be that good. Like it really is that way.
He is special, but I think a team that has a front court that can really test him, you can beat Gold and Joplin inside. I think they're very vulnerable in that area. Their guards are excellent defensively. Stevie Mitchell, Chase Ross, those guys get up into you. They cause problems that it's hard to get there. But if you can get the ball there, I feel like you'll have an answer.
All right. I'll just do this hypothetical because it came to me. I love doing these, especially with you.
Yeah.
Elite 8. Marquette. Obviously know what we know now. I hate future proofing. Like I know it's hard to do this, but this whole example is future proofing, so we're just allowed to do this for 30 minutes. Marquette, Clemson to go to the Final Four. Just based on the front court. I'm going off of teams that have incredible front courts, just based on what you said.
I think Clemson's not a team that I like. Shefflin is really good. Like he just kind of does all the dirty work. And I think it would be uglier for Marquette than Marquette would want it to be. But I got Cam Jones, and Chase Hunter's good, but he's not Cam Jones.
What about, I'll give you one more. We obviously aren't going to talk about Marquette forever, but let's go. I want to really make this challenging. Illinois. Marquette, Illinois. I know what we know about Illinois right now. They're not in this top 12. Like I know there's a lot to like. You're kind of projecting a little here. And I love him. I loved him coming into the year a lot more than anybody.
Yeah, you definitely liked him more than me. Kasparis Jakusionis. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but he's a guy.
Say it with your chest. That's all that matters.
See, that's what I would say. It's like
I
I
heard
just
it
say it
earlier.
confidently, but like
Yep.
I try to be honest and be like, yeah, guys, I could be making that one up. I'm not gonna lie. But
I
he
couldn't
looked
spell Giannis's name. Like his first All-Star season, I still couldn't spell his name. So that helps you.
yeah, he's a dude. Like I think he is someone who could like carry a team a little bit further. He was someone I wasn't like I didn't really even when I was researching Illinois, I don't think I went as far in depth on him as I should have because he looks like a dude, and I just thought he was going to be like a mid bench player. So it's something I missed, being fully honest. But even so, I don't think Illinois' front court is like special. Like it's Humrickhouse and Ivisic. I think Gold can manage that. Like a Derek Queen type. Like obviously Marquette already played Maryland, and Derek Queen had a great game, but Marquette ended up winning in the Xfinity Center. But like a Derek Queen type, like a mean big down low who just kind of moves people. That is like the matchup that if Marquette faces that startles me a bit. It'd be like,
So I have Kim Palm on the other side of the screen here, and I really couldn't pluck a front court that I think was going to give him problem in the top 40. I really couldn't. Like that's why I'm like, well, that's why I like the Maryland example. I looked over Maryland because they already played them. I was going to say Michigan State. I was going to lead the question with Michigan State, but is that really the front court?
Yeah.
Is that really an Elite Eight team? Is the question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's really not. I mean, I'm going down them. There's not. I mean, there's not a front court where you're like, that's the team. That's Marquette's advantage is they have the best player, and they may not play a team that deep into the tournament.
That can really bully them.
Yeah, that might be the market. We might have just laid out the Marquette Final Four.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm more optimistic on Marquette than I expected to be at this point.
Look, they're 9-1. It's been impressive. Alabama. I would not be shocked in any way if they won the national. I have doubts a lot more than I had 8 weeks ago, or however many weeks it's been. But that's crazy to even say out loud because we all were like, they're the best team. Here they are. Put them on the pedestal, and it.
Yeah, but we also see the vision of how like they haven't looked the greatest, but we see the vision of how it just takes another leap up, right?
They've challenged themselves, like without a doubt, and that I think will be the best. Out of the top 12 teams, I think that will be the thing that we look back on and go, what was the reason that X team like kind of broke away from the path here in a few weeks or even in a month or two?
Yep.
And I think it's because Alabama played arguably, I don't even know if it's arguably like one of the hardest schedules. Like it just is stupid. Like even some of those teams, I'll just click on the KenPom rating for a second, just kind of see the schedule. Even some of the teams at the bottom, lower teams per se that they played. Look, I know UNC Asheville. I know that they beat them 110-54 to open the season. UNC Asheville's inside the top 200 in KenPom. Like that's in the top half, really third almost of the country. Like that's significant. Arkansas State, that's a tough team that just had a big upset.
Yeah, they beat Memphis. Yeah, that team can play.
McNeese, a team that we all last year were like, they're making the Sweet 16. I mean, it was like we just wrote them into the Sweet 16 and it didn't happen, right? They beat them. They barely beat them. They're 95th in KenPom still. The numbers still love McNeese. They lost to Purdue, as we know, Illinois, Houston. Like, just really quick 194, 110, 95, 17, 15, 5, 69, nice, 21, and 31. That is the teams that they played.
Yeah.
That's insane. They did, like, it has to be the highest average KenPom margin of teams ranked. It has to be
100%.
Okay. Gonzaga. I don't think we're spending much time on this answer. I think you'd be not surprised whatsoever.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. I was trying to make the argument of like how but like no, I see how it happens.
Florida, Kansas, we already went over. Purdue is number 11.
Yeah, that would surprise me a lot.
Same here. This is an interesting accident, but Oregon. You already kind of did it. I know. Like, I'm just kind of.
They would still surprise me, but I can't lie. I really like this team. Like they're probably a team that what I'm going to end up doing is like I'll probably pick them to go around, maybe even 2 further than they will end up being. But I really like this Oregon team.
It's okay to be wrong about teams you really like because at the end of the day, like once you get into the tournament, and you kind of like we saw with Auburn, Yale. I mean, like literally, not like all bets are off. Like it's just. It is what it is. There are the people that say they make money consistently on March Madness. Like I know you do pretty well, but just like consistently and just like are proud of it. I'm like, it's not consistent.
Because whenever I do brackets, if let's say we're in a pool with like 100, 200 people, right? I want to win the pool. If I get 5th, I'm not getting anything.
Right?
If, like, there's no difference between 5th and 195th, right? Like, what's the difference? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you can. I
Zero.
guess you can go to the water cooler and say I got 5th in my pool, but like, I don't know. I just go guns blazing, and if everything goes my way, I'm winning that thing. And if it doesn't, I'm done. I'm toast, and I live with that.
So if you don't have it in front of you really quick, I'll read kind of some of the teams outside of the top 12. My next question for you is who outside the top 12 would you take? Because look, again, you said maybe it's the one team that wasn't Kansas. Who is that?
I had A&M. I had A&M 11. They
Wow. Did
it,
I? Where did I have A&M? That's a good question. And I love you and I are the A&M island in every poll that we could both contribute in. I think we're the reason that they stayed in after those 2 losses. I know they opened the season with a loss, but then they lost again a couple months later, or a couple weeks later. But I think we're the reason they stayed like where they were.
see, I wasn't even that high in A&M entering the season,
Oh, I
but
was.
yeah,
Where'd you
like
have them this week?
preseason. I don't think I ranked him preseason, frankly.
Where'd you have them this week?
This week I had him 11.
I had them 17th.
Jeez, yeah, I apparently was really high on A&M. And I mean,
For
the
context, I
Texas
had
Tech
them
win really
12
impressed me.
to open the year, by the way. 12 to open the year.
Yeah, I don't think I had them ranked to open the year. The Texas Tech win really impressed me. I thought they looked good against Creighton, Rutgers, and the Ohio State win was a statement to me. I think this is the highest I'm ever going to rank A&M. Like
Yeah,
if,
without a doubt.
yeah, I would expect 11 to be the ceiling. I wouldn't surprise me if in 2 weeks I didn't have them ranked, but I have them 11 for now.
Okay.
But they're not winning a national title.
That was my follow-up. So who is it then? Who outside? I'll read a couple. Oklahoma 13. Again, this is off the AP. Whoever, we mention our own rankings probably enough, but as we should. Michigan, Houston, Clemson, A&M is at 17, UConn 18, Ole Miss 19, Wisconsin 20. I'll just finish it out. Michigan State 21, Cincinnati, San Diego State at 22, 23, and then UCLA 24 and Mississippi State 25.
Yeah, so I look at it's like it's got to be a team with a really high ceiling, right? Like most of these teams, like Oklahoma, to me, they're a floor team. Like they're going to be good every game, but like they're one of those teams to me that I think can beat the champion, but can't be the champion, if that makes sense. Like in a regular season game,
Great analogy.
yeah.
I love it.
Oklahoma can. It's almost like whenever Wisconsin is good, this is Wisconsin. They could beat Purdue last year, but they were never going to be the champion. They were never going to win 6 games against the Purdue types, but like one day they can take them. That's to me what Oklahoma is. I think Houston has that ceiling just because that defense, it's hard to prep for them, but they still don't have that one guy who can replace Shed to me. And granted, I also watched Houston beat my team by like 70 this week. So
you said it, not me. I was just gonna leave it alone and not touch it, but
it's looking up and down. I mean, they're not ranked, but I see the ceiling with Baylor.
yeah, it's a good one. That's a good idea. I didn't think we'd actually get to Baylor today. I mentioned that earlier with Roach.
You mentioned it's like, where is Baylor ranked? I'm like, oh, they're not ranked. But
to be fair, they were the first team out.
Yeah.
150 votes for crying out. I know there's like a million of them, but still.
I could see it with Baylor. I think their ceiling is just so high that, like, what if Edgecombe finally gets going? He struggled a little bit to start the season. If he gets going, and I think they got to find their small ball. I think their small ball lineup's going to win it for him because when I watched the UConn game, Ojanwa late just made some plays that I thought kind of took him out of the game. I think Baylor kind of needs to find that lineup where you can run Umir at the 5. But if they can find that, I think they'll cause serious problems because those guards can get buckets. And Rob Wright off the bench is going to be a star.
Yeah, that was one of your best points this year was if he sticks around for 2 years, which I think he's at least a 2-year college basketball player. But if he sticks around for 3 years, he could be the best guard in his junior year. I think it's one of your best points. I really do. Yeah. The Oklahoma thing is interesting. Just as like I know they're undefeated, whatever. I said this on ECB. I probably texted you this at some point, but I mean they are literally. It's a lazy comparison, but it's true. Like you mentioned, the floor versus the ceiling team. South Carolina was a 5 seed in the tournament, a 6 seed in the tournament last year, and they lost to Oregon.
Yeah,
6-11, right? And so a team that everybody was like Oregon's going to win. Like everyone was just staring that one down, right? And I think if Oklahoma gets in, I'm not saying they're a 6 seed. I'm just not. They'd have to really sustain the success here. But I think they're the clear who's the team that we all picked dead last or whatever, or almost dead last. And now look at them. They're in the NCAA tournament. All right. Well, let's close with this. I told you 30 minutes. We'll try to. We've done a great job today comparatively to other times.
We got time.
I know you could do this for a week and a half, and someone would have to make you sleep. So I don't necessarily love again this pod on purpose is to kind of like give ourselves a barometer of the top 12. We historically understand. I laid it out at the beginning. We would be more surprised if one of those 12 didn't. And we just laid out the case to kind of go through. There's a reason that stat has been the way it is. Like, it just is what it is. Teams have played hard schedules. They know what they know. They know about themselves by now, all that. But this year, you see tweets. I think Fantas tweeted it. I think a couple others have tweeted as well. Like, this is the year that, an FAU makes the Final Four or whatever. Or this is the year that a Miami makes, like the year that I went, like the 1 year I've been, and it was like everybody in UConn, right?
Yeah.
Let's say 3 chalk teams make the Final Four. Who's the one where you are not going to be surprised that maybe we haven't talked about it all? Maybe they're outside the top 25, because there's a lot of teams that got votes that I think are really talented teams. So who's like they make the Final Four and you're going to be fist pumping because you got it right?
Yeah, it's got to be some teams with high ceilings again. I think if St. John's can find their defensive identity, I think they're a team. They don't have it working offensively because, especially because Kadary Richmond off the ball. If you want to, he needs to be on the ball offensively, because if he's off the ball, I think his skills are almost zero. So I think, but they're a team that can. I'm looking at. God, I hate that this is going to be my answer, but Kevin Willard's Maryland team. I really like this team. I like Derek Queen a lot. Derek Queen to me is a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. I really like Derek Queen. And Jacoby Gillespie, I just think is a really solid guard. He's really good defensively. He can really shoot the ball. Selton Miguel, I like some of these pieces. So those are 2 teams early that have my attention. Just looking up and down my top 25 rankings. Yeah, VCU lost to Seton Hall, so I can't put them there. But VCU was a team that I'm thinking about. Okay, it could be VCU. And Michigan's ranked really highly right now, so I don't want them to be my answer. But Danny Wolf has been really impressed. I don't think there's a player in the country that has surprised me more, aside from maybe John Tonji at Wisconsin, than Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf looks really, really good right now.
Yeah, no, he definitely Michigan radio right now. I mean, after the Ohio State football win, unfortunately, and then just I understand Dusty May. I have a friend that goes to the school, and he was all off season. He was telling me, he's like, Dusty May, the students seem excited. He's walking around campus. He's, because Dusty May came from FAU, where let's be honest, there's really not a sport people actually really cared about up until 2 years ago. Truly, other than maybe baseball. But he was walking around campus. He was doing all the things that a low major program coach does, goes around the school and does all the things and whatever. Makes the Final Four. Heck, almost makes the national championship game if it wasn't for arguably one of the coolest shots in college basketball history in the Final Four. I was there. It was really cool. And I'll never forget that ever. But my point being is Dusty May shows up, and we know he's going to recruit. We know he's going to bring some guys with him. Maybe it's not all the guys we thought. I know, the whole John L. Davis thing. And so at the end of the day, Danny Wolf, that might have been one of the best transfer gets in the country. And I know that that's an outlandish statement when there's you put the list together, he might not make the top 40. But just from an impact standpoint, from a team's expectations being raised after 10 games, he's probably the most talented player who just absolutely changed a team this early on in the year, is kind of my point.
Yeah. Danny, if Danny Wolf isn't on a top 40 transfer list, I would demand people rework their list. He is
coming into the year, he probably wasn't, right?
Coming into the year, coming into the year. But if we're doing it now,
yeah, he might be top 10.
He's in your top 10 even. You've made a grave mistake. You want a deep sleeper?
I'm
talking
deep.
This
is what I was aiming for when I asked the question. Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the AP poll to see if this team has even received any votes. I'm assuming they have. I'd assume they'd be in the 30s if I looked at it correctly. 57. Utah State. They've been good this year. Yeah. Coach Calhoun, he runs a really interesting offense. He came from Youngstown. Utah State just kind of nails these coaching hires. And this year they've gone really under the radar. You return Ian Martinez, Mason Falslev. Those 2 guys have been really good. On this roster, their top 4 scorers, Martinez, Falslev, Akano, Templin. All 4 shoot above 40% from 3. This team can get hot. They've got a good setup man in Drake Allen. They have good guards. They run an interesting system that I think if there's any team that's gonna, it'd pretty much be the exact FAU path. Like literally, what team can recreate FAU? Because I think that's the only path they have. I don't think they have the guards with like that pop the FAU guards did. Like we're talking about a lot of these FAU guards now all across the country. Like they still have like that pop. I don't think these guards have that pop, but we're talking a team that can do it. If we're getting really greasy with it, I think Utah State is a deep sleeper option.
Yeah, I mean, even if you had made that pick, if we had done this pod 2 weeks ago, it would be even deeper because like there are people that have them ranked in the top 25, and like it's deservingly so. Being 9-0, 6-0 at home, like it feels like the Mountain West. I don't want to call it like showcase last year. Let's just call it that carefully because I was in the camp. Let's call it this: the fact that San Diego State, New Mexico, Nevada, and Boise State are basically just kind of doing their thing. Not really a big drop off from the year before, when it comes to like record this early on, and yet it feels like the conference might get 3 teams in.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Boise State would have been, if you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, Boise State probably would have been my answer. But just watching them play,
Yeah,
they run a lineup. I don't know how many have you watched a Boise State game this year?
2.
Okay,
I think they played Clemson, right? That was their God.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I've at least watched the Clemson game. I have to look at the schedule in the other one, but
they run a lineup. It's their starting lineup. I was talking with this on Fetterman and Lidskin, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers, or I believe that's what they call it. The fact that they run one guard, it's Alvaro Cardenas, 4 forwards. They run one guard and 4 forwards. It is a lineup that is so slow. It genuinely makes me want to pull my hair out. Like it just doesn't make sense. And I like that team a lot entering the season because I see the talent, but the lineup just doesn't make sense that I can't pick. Like someone's gonna blitz them in the tournament. Like you run and gun this team, you're going to blitz them. And they would have been my pick 2 weeks ago, but they're so they need the absolute perfect draw every single round. And even then, I still don't think they can get past a Sweet 16.
What's crazy is like there was, who was it last year that played that kind of style and it bit them? I can't remember now. I had it on the tip of my tongue and I was like, this is the team now. Anyway, what's crazy is they're 153rd in tempo. So it's not like they're even like they just, it's very lethargic. I went and looked, by the way. I think it was the San Francisco game that was like the first week when things were kind of still slow. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of those late ones. And then they're like the forward defense, like their defense isn't good either. Like too
slow.
I know they're 82nd, like this early on. Some things are weighted into it. They're 314th in block percentage. And so those forwards just aren't getting any kind of game-changing momentum or game-changing plays. Steals, they're almost bottom as well, but with the guards, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So, all right, if it's Boise State, let's do this one. Let's do one more thing on the way out. Everyone comes into the year, they get excited about mid-major this, low major that, Sweet 16, who's the, Oral Roberts this year, right? I don't feel like I feel like Grand Canyon after the Arizona State loss, I think we all just kind of put our hands up and said, okay, well, they're not undefeated anymore. But like, I'll give you one. I'll give you a gross, like if they make the Elite Eight, I will be doing laps around my area of North Carolina. High Point. If High Point finally gets over the hump, makes the tournament, which by the way, fun fact for you that I learned literally 2 weeks ago, they're part of the Never Made the Tournament Club. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that, and I probably should have known that. So they just play a perfect modern style of basketball. Coach Huss is incredible. He's a leader through and through. I got a chance to talk to him after their game against UAB, which they won. There were so many NBA scouts in the building. Again, Yaxel and Borg's on UAB, so let's just start there. Obviously, he's there for a reason, but they were there for a reason for him. But I'm sure that they weren't not turning heads at Kamani Hamilton and Keza Giffa and some of those guys. Jiffa, excuse me, I got corrected on that before. But my point is they play a perfect style. They're like 11 deep. Like it actually, I actually think it might be a problem for them later on in the year. It'll be really good for them in Big South play. The problem is they'll get into the tournament and then they'll have to play a shorter rotation, and they may have not done it enough. And so I just wonder, I think that could be a thing they'd have to figure out. I know it's kind of a weird, good problem to have kind of thing, but they're incredible. They're top to bottom. They're an incredible team. They've had some losses that I think me, including others, were kind of putting them on a pedestal and saying like they might not lose a game if they can pass UAB. And I still think that. I still think they probably can, basically win out the Big South, even though they've already lost. My point is they're incredible. I think they're a team. They're kind of this year's Grand Canyon for me, even though I know they won 30 games last year. I think they're better this year. So that's kind of my gross follow up there.
Yeah, they're fun to watch too. You mentioned like that style, like Coach Koss really has that place rolling. He's got talent coming in too. Like you can see like there are teams that buy into the vision. I feel like Drake would be the easy answer to be like who can be that. I mean, the Grand Canyon of last year, I guess, because just the style they run, they're very clearly a well-coached team. They're very experienced. Like it's a D2 team, very experienced D2 team. Like, I mean, they're coming from Northwest Missouri State. That was the best D2 program for the last X amount of years. Like those guys are just solid. They know how to play. And Bennett Sturts, I believe I saw a stat today. I don't remember who tweeted it, so unfortunately I can't give credit. I apologize to this person, whoever it was. But Bennett Sturts, I believe, has played 279 of their 280 minutes this year. Like he is a dude. He is a straight gamer. So if there's like one, that Drake is my early answer. And do I save it for the ECB show when I give a shout out? No, I'm gonna drop his name first. This team, I don't think Arkansas State's another one. But if we're going really deep, a team that like 15 seed, like maybe they can win it. They're not winning a tournament game, but like maybe they can have it within like 8 at the U4. And like it's like, okay, we're like looking at it, but like they're gonna lose, but like maybe we get like a great moment. Blake Harper and Howard. Blake Harper was not the guy I even considered writing about when I wrote the Howard preview. And I did a lot of research into Howard. He wasn't a guy I even considered writing about. He's a freshman coming from the DC area. He stayed home. Last game, granted, they played against a D3 team. I don't remember the team's name. No, they played Lynchburg, Virginia. So like D3, but
he had 30 points. Some good D1 transfers in the last couple of years too. I was looking at like Carolina's got a guy who came from there. That's interesting.
Yeah. Blake Harper had a 30-point triple-double last game. 30-point triple-double. Like he's a
no relation to the other Harpers, right?
Not that I don't believe so. Lefty, not the most athletic, but like he's just kind of smooth. His game is really smooth. He's not gonna you're never gonna jump off the page and be like, whoa, holy crap, Blake Harper just dunked on 4 people. But like he's just gonna find a way and hit that like little cheeky floater or something like that. That's kind of his game. He's solid, and they haven't gotten Bryce Harris going this year. He's playing hurt. Bryce Harris was a guy who averaged 17 and 7 for them last year. That he's only averaging 10 points a game right now. That guy's better than 10 points a game. So I don't know. Maybe they can get it going if we're going real deep, but I think the Drake mentioned to me, the way they played in Charleston was really like that is a team that is just a unit, and they impressed me.
Wasn't able to get down to Charleston this year. The way that kind of turned out, regardless of who won it has nothing to do with Drake here, but the games were good. I think we all looked at the field and we're kind of like, this is a really good field. It might not have been as good of a field as we thought. So I think I saw Dayton Houston in the championship game last year. I mean, that was like, okay, like that was the year to go. Right. So look, you're not going to anywhere else other than maybe like Matt Moderno's podcast, whatever, that whole network he has in the DMV area. You're not getting a Howard freshman mention on any other show in the country right now. So that's the reason to subscribe ever, if there ever was one. So let's get out of here. First, I want to say this though. I love getting Final Four. I love doing this with NBA champion picks too, with like just completely no context. I won't clip it. I'm not gonna do that to you. Yeah, but like at the end of the day, we've seen enough now. Like college basketball, you have to make critical judgment of teams. We just did it for the last 32 minutes because we went down a mid-major, low-major rant for 6 minutes. But we understand that the top 12 is what it is. So right now, I love asking these questions because we can look back on it and go, look, Michael was really right. And if not, I'll bury the footage.
That one.
But I mean, even if you're wrong, it's just like, how do we grow and learn as evaluators as we go, okay, here's why I liked Auburn and here's why they lost to Yale in the first round again. No, I'm obviously being funny. Princeton or whoever. Sorry, this year it's Columbia. Let me just say that. It might be Columbia, right? I gave them a shout out last week, though. All right. Who's the Final Four? You don't have to like be super confident in it, whatever, right? Because you're picking 4 teams at random with a dart. But who are you most confident, right? Like I know you said Auburn. Like who wins the national championship when we started the tournament today? kind of led with it a little
Yeah,
bit.
if you put a gun to my head, maybe pick today, it's Auburn to win the Natty.
Okay. All right. And then who's your Final Four right now? We got a
Iowa
bracket right
State.
now.
Yeah, Iowa State would be the next one. Okay, so do I? Okay, you know what? I want to take a couple. I want to take a couple shots. We're going. Those two are like the two chalk teams, right? I want to take some dart throws, because if I get one right, I want to victory lap it. Dart throw 1, Oregon. I believe in that team. And dart throw 2. I mean, I mentioned Maryland. They're a team I'm thinking about. Yeah, we'll go Maryland. Why not? I want to throw some darts. I want to throw some darts. You know what? I'm going 5. I'm picking 5. You told me to pick 4. I'm picking 5. Throw Drake in there too.
Love it.
Darts.
Drake fans are going to have a field day with this one. I'll give you mine real quick. Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama, Clemson. Those are the 4 teams that, like, I know that they're 16th in the AP. Like, I'm just going to put it out there. Didn't have them in the top 4 coming into the year. You know that. You edited the magazine. That will be the team. I did a podcast a couple months ago with Carl Heiser and Alex Cervantes from Jim Arrange, the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I do the show every year with them. It's 21 Questions preview. And I always ask them the same question. I say, who's the team you're going to put your hands up in March, April, whatever, and you're going to go, I was wrong. I don't care. It's Clemson for me. I'm 100% wrong. I don't care if it's the Kentucky win inflating a little bit. I think they're like let's be real for a second. They lost their best player, made the Elite 8 last year, and they might be just as good. Like, what are we doing? Like, they're the second best team in the ACC and potentially not a down year.
Yeah.
That's insane. So I'm going to say it's Clemson. And I really do think they have Final Four potential. I really do.
I think Michigan's the team where I had questions with just how it all fit together. Like, I didn't know how the Golden Wolf fit would work. It works. Danny Wolf plays on the perimeter. Amazing. Yeah. So far, there's probably someone I'm missing, but so far for me, they're the team that I'm putting my hands up and just saying, you got me. You got me.
If I had to go outside the box of a team I didn't write about, it's Oregon, but we're going to move on and get out of here.
Quack. Quack.
You keep receipts. And so where can people see those receipts when you randomly tweet me 3.5 weeks later after Oregon? Where can people see that stuff? Let them know.
Yeah, at MD the Dream. I told the story why I came up with that earlier. Yeah, Road to the Garden. We're doing a lot of Big East stuff there. Just as much as we can, really. The Big East, we love the Big East here, and it's better than Trev's ACC. So, yeah, take that one.
Hey, look, there was a time a few weeks ago before, I think it was either in the middle of Maui. I'm not joking. I was literally going to call you and be like, when I wanted to do a pod sometime soon anyway. Yeah. I know this one was last minute, but I was legitimately going to call you and be like, we need to do right now to open my pod what is wrong with the Big East? Things have looked up. I'm glad we didn't, because it would have aged like spoiled milk, like by the time the Big 12 challenge started, or whatever, Big East, Big 12, whatever it is. So
even the Big East doesn't look great right now. Like, the league's still not good, but like, at least not
like, it's not the top 25, and that's crazy. Like,
yeah,
it's just nuts to me.
But and also like the loss of Pop Isaacs kills him. But yeah, Road to the Garden. We're talking all sort of Big East stuff. ECB. We love talking hoops. Trev will show up every once in a while and then tell me why I'm wrong about everything, and like whatever. But really, the question I've had on my mind this entire time is the week 6 top 12. What happens in week 7? Do we just like get something, like, does something crazy happen every year and like the champion just all of a sudden loses? Is that a pattern? Because like, if there's a team that is right here and every single year they lose week 7, that's an angle. That's an angle.
Well, if history tells us anything that one of these teams does, that's fine. They can lose this week. But if there was ever a week for one of these teams to lose, I think Josh's bank on it on ECB was, this is it. Like, teams are going to go down, which they already did last week. Like ECB's top 5, it was 2, 3, 4, and 5 or something like that. Like 4 of the top 6 went down.
Yeah.
Like, it can happen this weekend too, even though I think there's not as many ranked matchups this weekend as we thought. I thought that was interesting, at least in the ECB top 25. But look, this weekend's going to be incredible. I can't wait to be in the building, even if it is for LaSalle, North Carolina. Shout out to Major Madness. But it's going to be an incredible weekend, and we'll learn a lot about these teams. That people can listen to this pod and learn a lot about them, but we're going to know a lot about them on the court by Sunday morning. So it'll be really interesting to see how some of these teams kind of take care of what they're going to do. Gonzaga, UConn, that's going to probably the one to circle. So if you had to, if you're a casual fan and you're watching the college football award show like I am in the background right now, and you're just like fiending for something college related, just watch Gonzaga, UConn. I know UConn's down right now, but
it'll still be fun. UConn fans pack MSG.
Yeah, that's the game. Circle it, watch it. Louisville, Kentucky will be incredible as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, my friend. And, look, we got to have you back on before the tournament because that's ridiculous. That's on me. All right. Better host here. But thank you. This has been the 2 Pointers podcast on behalf of Michael, myself. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Everything for Michael will be linked in the description below. Scroll a couple times. It's all down there. This has been the 2 Pointers podcast. I'm Trevor Everett. We will see you soon.